Ever wonder what it feels like to get a text from your dead son? Not literally dead, but dead to you for 5 years after he chose drugs over family, chose stealing from his dying mother over staying by her side. That text arrived on a Tuesday that started like any other, and by midnight, I'd be running for my life from the child I'd once rocked to sleep. If you're brave enough to hear how family can become your worst nightmare, subscribe now. But I'm warning you, after this story, you'll never look at your loved ones the same way. Some of you will subscribe out of curiosity. Others will be too scared to know the truth. Which one are you? The rain hammered against my windshield as I sat in the parking lot of the Ritz-Carlton in downtown Denver, staring at the text message that had shattered 5 years of silence. Dad, I know I have no right to ask, but please come. Jessica and I need to see you. Tonight, 8 p.m., the Ritz, penthouse suite. Please, Dad, for Mom's memory. My name is Robert Sullivan, and for 42 years, I built a restaurant empire from a single food truck in Boulder. 17 locations across Colorado, each one a testament to the American dream my late wife Maria and I had chased together. But success means nothing when your only son becomes a stranger, when addiction poisons blood thicker than water. The last time I'd seen David, he'd been escorted out of Maria's hospital room by security, his pockets full of her jewelry, her pain medication stolen while she slept. "I'll pay you back," he'd slurred high on God knows what. "Just need to get straight, Dad. Just need one more chance." That was 5 years ago. 5 years of missed funerals, birthdays celebrated alone, and a father's heart slowly turning to stone. But here I was, adjusting my Navy suit, the same one Maria had bought me for our last anniversary before the brain tumor took her. "Family is everything," she used to whisper, her hand fragile in mine during those final days. "Promise me you'll never give up on our boy, Roberto." The Ritz lobby gleamed with marble and gold, a world away from the food truck where I'd started slinging breakfast burritos at dawn. The elevator ride to the penthouse felt endless, each floor number lighting up like a countdown to either redemption or disaster. Something felt wrong. Call it a father's intuition, or the instincts that had kept me alive in the cutthroat restaurant business. David had never been one for luxury hotels. His text had been too formal, too calculated. When the elevator doors opened, I found myself in a private foyer, the penthouse suite, the only door in sight. I knocked, and the door swung open to reveal my son, but not the David I remembered. Designer suit replaced his usual thrift store clothes, a Patek Philippe glinted on his wrist, and his smile seemed rehearsed, like an actor playing a role. "Dad," he breathed, pulling me into an embrace that felt staged. "Thank God you came." The suite beyond was breathtaking. Floor-to-ceiling windows, showcasing the Denver skyline and the Rockies beyond, furniture that cost more than most people's cars, and a dining table set for 3 with china and crystal that sparkled under soft lighting. Jessica emerged from another room, her red hair perfectly styled, wearing a dress that screamed money. She'd always been attractive, but now she looked like she'd stepped out of a Beverly Hills boutique, polished, cold, predatory. "Mr. Sullivan," she purred, her voice dripping honey, "we're so grateful you're here. David's been counting the minutes." They ushered me to the table where a feast awaited. Wagyu beef, Maine lobster, wines with labels I'd recognized from supplier meetings with celebrity chefs. David poured me a glass of bourbon, Pappy Van Winkle 23, my weakness, though I'd never told him that. How did he know? "Dad, I know I've been a disappointment. The drugs, the stealing, the way I abandoned Mom when she needed me most, but I'm clean now, 2 years sober. Jessica and we've built something incredible, a tech startup. We're about to close a major deal." The bourbon burned smooth down my throat as he talked about venture capital and IPOs, about redemption and second chances. Jessica kept refilling my glass, her movements graceful but insistent. The room began to feel too warm, the lights too bright. My instinct screamed danger, but my heart, that foolish organ that still saw my little boy in this stranger's face, wanted so desperately to believe. "I want to show you something," David said, pulling out his tablet. "Our company's projections. We could use a hospitality partner. Maybe we could work together this time. Make Mom proud." As he swiped through slides, my phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Get out. Now. Stop drinking." My blood turned to ice. I glanced at David and Jessica, both watching me with an intensity that suddenly felt predatory. Another text. "They know I'm texting you. Leave or you'll lose everything." "Everything okay, Dad?" David asked, his concern sounding forced now that I was listening with suspicious ears. "Just the Denver location," I managed, standing slowly. The room tilted slightly. How much had I drunk? I need to make a call. "But Dad, we haven't even gotten to the main course," Jessica protested, her hand reaching for my arm. Her nails, I noticed, were perfectly manicured, but her grip was desperate. "I'll be right back," I lied, moving toward the door with deliberate calm while my heart hammered against my ribs. Whatever trap they'd set, I was about to spring it by leaving, but staying might cost me more than I could afford to lose. As I reached for the door handle, David's voice changed, dropping the false warmth. "Dad, please, you don't understand. We need this. I need this." I turned to look at my son one last time, seeing not the boy who'd helped me prep vegetables in our first restaurant, but a stranger wearing his face. 5 minutes, I said, knowing it was a lie, knowing that sometimes love means walking away before it destroys you. The hallway never looked so long, the elevator button never seemed so far. Behind me, I heard the suite door open, heard David call my name with increasing desperation. But I kept walking, my phone buzzing with more messages I didn't dare read until I was safe. 5 years of silence had been broken, but not in the way I'd dreamed. The reunion I'd prayed for had become a nightmare I was desperately trying to escape. And somewhere in that luxurious penthouse, my son and his wife were realizing their mark had slipped the hook. But this was just the beginning. The real horror of what they had planned, the depths of their betrayal, and the identity of my mysterious savior, all of that was yet to come. As the elevator doors closed between me and the penthouse, I knew my life had just taken a turn toward darkness I couldn't yet imagine. Still think you know how low family can sink? Still believe rehabilitation erases the past? Subscribe now, because what happens next will destroy every hope you have about second chances. Don't wait until it's your turn to run from the ones you're supposed to trust. Hit that button, unless you're too afraid to face the truth about how greed can corrupt even the strongest bonds.
You know that feeling when you realize the person you die for is perfectly willing to let you die? When every "I love you, Dad" becomes a lie in retrospect? That's where I was, stumbling through a luxury hotel, trying to escape my own son, while anonymous texts revealed a conspiracy that would make your blood freeze. The elevator descended with agonizing slowness, each floor a heartbeat in a chest that felt too tight. My hands shook as I pulled out my phone, reading the stream of messages that painted a picture more terrifying than any nightmare. Your son owes $2.4 million to the Moretti family, payment due in 7 days. The bourbon was laced with Rohypnol variant. You'd have signed anything. They have documents ready, power of attorney, transfer of all assets, everything. Get to your car, call 911, trust no one in that hotel. The name Moretti sent ice through my veins. Everyone in Denver knew about the Italian outfit that operated out of Federal Heights. They didn't just break bones, They made examples of people, left messages that the whole city would understand. How had David gotten involved with them? How had my boy fallen so far? The lobby stretched before me like a minefield. Every face could be watching, waiting. The concierge who'd smiled at me earlier now seemed sinister. The valet who'd taken my keys might be one of Moretti's men. Paranoia and whatever they'd slipped me made the marble floor feel like quicksand. I made it to my Range Rover, hands fumbling with the keys. The parking garage felt like a tomb, every shadow potentially hiding danger. As I slid behind the wheel, my phone rang. Unknown number. "Mr. Sullivan?" A woman's voice, young, terrified. "My name is Elena. I work events at the Ritz. I'm the one warning you." "Why?" I managed, starting the engine, desperate to put distance between me and that hotel. "Because what they plan, it's monstrous. Your son tells his wife you're worth $60 million. The restaurants, the real estate holdings, the investments. They need it all to pay Moretti and disappear." $60 million. She was close. The real number was $68 million, but how did they know even that? I'd kept my wealth private, lived modestly despite the success. Maria had insisted on it. "Money reveals character," she had said. "Let's make sure ours stays intact." "There's more," Alana continued. "The drug, it's not just to make you sign. Too much and—" She paused, her voice dropping. "They have a doctor on standby to pronounce it cardiac arrest. Your son, he says you have heart problems already." My chest tightened at her words. I did have a heart condition, a mild arrhythmia that only my cardiologist and I knew about. Except apparently, David knew too. How long had he been planning this? "Why are you helping me?" I asked, pulling onto I-25, the city lights blurring past. "Because I have a father too, because I see what greed does to families, and because," she broke slightly, "because your son threatened me when I refused to help, said Moretti would know about my brother's gambling debts. But I cannot help murder a father. Cannot. Where are you now? Are you safe?" "Leaving state tonight, have family in Phoenix. But Mr. Sullivan, you must go to police now. They have backup plan if drug fails." "What backup plan?" The line went silent for a moment. "Your son has a gun. Says if you try to leave without signing, he'll make it look like carjacking. Has 2 men waiting in parking garage to help stage it." My hands gripped the wheel tighter. My own son. My David. Planning not just to rob me, but to kill me if necessary. The boy I'd taught to cook, who'd cried in my arms when Maria died, who'd promised at her graveside to make her proud. "Go to police," Elena urged again. "I uploaded video of their planning to the cloud. Password is your wife's name and birthday. Maria 0218. Use it to stop them." The line went dead. I pulled over at a rest stop near Castle Rock, my hands shaking too badly to drive safely. The mountains loomed dark against the sky, matching the void where my heart should be. 5 years of estrangement had hurt, but this was agony, distilled to its purest form. I dialed 911, my voice steady despite the chaos in my mind. "I need to report an attempted poisoning and conspiracy to commit murder. My name is Robert Sullivan, and my son just tried to drug me at the Ritz-Carlton." The dispatcher's professional calm guided me through the next steps. Units were dispatched to the hotel. Detectives would meet me at the Douglas County Sheriff's Office. Did I need medical attention? Was I safe now? Safe. What a concept. I'd never feel safe again. Not really. Because if your own child could plan your murder over money, what security existed in this world? As I drove to the sheriff's office, my phone exploded with calls and texts from David. I didn't answer, couldn't answer. Each ring was a nail in the coffin of our relationship. Jessica called too, her messages alternating between concern and barely veiled threats. "Mr. Sullivan, where are you? David's having a breakdown. Robert, please come back. This is all a misunderstanding. You don't know what you're doing. These people will kill us all. Answer your fucking phone before you destroy everything." The last one showed their desperation, the mask finally slipping, but it was David's final voice message that shattered what remained of my paternal delusions. "Dad, I know you're thinking you're being smart, but you're signing our death warrants. The Morettis don't negotiate. Either I pay them or we all die. You, me, Jessica, they'll make it slow. I didn't want it this way, but you left me no choice. You and your judgment, your disappointment, your conditions. Well, congratulations. You'd rather see me dead than help me. Just like you let Mom suffer because you were too cheap to try experimental treatments. Her death is on you, and mine will be too. Blaming me for Maria's death. She chose quality of life over quantity, dignity over false hope. We'd made that decision together, held each other through it, but David had never forgiven me, had never understood that sometimes love means accepting the inevitable. The sheriff's office loomed ahead, its harsh lights a beacon of justice in a night gone mad. But as I parked, I wondered, what justice could possibly heal this wound? What cell could contain the betrayal of a son willing to murder his father for money? If you're watching without subscribing, you're about to miss the evidence that will chill you to your core. Subscribe now, or spend the rest of your life wondering what horrors Elena captured on video. Don't let pride keep you from that button, because what comes next will haunt you either way.
Imagine sitting in a police station about to watch your own son plan your murder like he's planning a dinner party. Every detail discussed with the casual cruelty of someone who's forgotten you're human, forgotten you're the one who taught him to tie his shoes. That's where this nightmare deepened. The interrogation room at Douglas County Sheriff's Office smelled of industrial cleaner and broken dreams. How many families had shattered within these walls? Detective Chen set up her laptop while I nursed black coffee, trying to clear the last fog from my system. "Walk me through everything," she said, voice gentle but professional. "Don't leave anything out." So I did. Every detail, from the first text to the escape, from Elena's warnings to David's venomous voicemail. Chen took notes, occasionally asking for a clarification, her expression growing grimmer with each revelation. "This video," Elena mentioned. "Can you access it?" I pulled out my phone, hands steadier now, and logged into the cloud drive. Maria 0218, her birthday, a date I'd celebrated 37 times with her, never imagining it would unlock evidence of our son's betrayal. The video file was 52 minutes long. Jen connected her laptop to a larger monitor, and suddenly the interrogation room filled with images that would haunt me forever. The video showed a hotel room, not the penthouse, somewhere cheaper. David sat at a table with Jessica and two men I didn't recognize. One had the thick neck and dead eyes of an enforcer. The other looked like an accountant, but the kind who launders money, not the kind who does your taxes. "The old man's worth at least 60 mil, David said, shuffling papers. "I've got copies of his tax returns from when I had access to his office. The restaurant empire alone is worth 40. Then there's the real estate, the investment portfolio." "And he'll just sign it over," the enforcer's voice was skeptical. "After what we're giving him, he'll sign his own death certificate if we tell him to." "Ha ha ha!" David laughed. Actually laughed. 2 milligrams of this stuff and he won't even remember his own name. We get him to sign, transfer everything to the offshore accounts, and by the time he sobers up, we're in Costa Rica." "And if he doesn't drink enough?" Jessica asked, examining her nails like they were discussing weather. "Then Plan B," David said, patting something under his jacket. "Tragic carjacking. Wealthy restaurateur killed for his Rolex. Tommy here and his buddy make it look good. We inherit everything anyway. Just takes longer with probate." The accountant spoke up. "The Morettis want their money in 7 days. That's non-negotiable. You miss that deadline." "We won't," David interrupted. "My father's a creature of habit. Every Tuesday he visits Mom's grave, alone. If the hotel doesn't work out," he shrugged, "lots of accidents can happen in a cemetery." Shen paused the video. The silence that followed was deafening. "Mr. Sullivan, I need to ask, did anyone else know about your Tuesday visits?" "No," I managed, my voice hoarse. It was private, just me and Maria." "Then your son's been watching you, studying your routines." She started the video again. "Tell me about the drug again. I want to make sure we get the dosage right." The accountant pulled out a vial. "Flunitrazepam derivative, but modified, untraceable after 12 hours, multiplies alcohol effects by 10, 2 milligrams and he's suggestible, 4 and he's unconscious. 6. He shrugged. Heart stops. Looks like natural causes, especially with his pre-existing condition. How do you know about his heart? The enforcer asked. David smiled, proud of himself. Hacked his pharmacy records. He's on beta blockers, mild arrhythmia. The drug interacts badly with his medication. Even if he survives, no one would question a heart attack. My hand went to my chest involuntarily. The beta blockers I took religiously, the condition I'd managed for years. My son had weaponized my own health against me. And the girl? The event coordinator? Jessica asked. Elena won't be a problem, David said dismissively. I've got leverage. Her brother owes the Morettis 30 grand. One word from me and both their bodies end up in Cherry Creek Reservoir. Still, the enforcer said, loose ends are dangerous. Then we tie 'em up, David said, his voice cold. After this is done, after we had the money, we clean house. Elena, the doctor who's going to pronounce Dad dead, even Maria at the hotel who's helping set up the suite. No witnesses. Maria, another innocent dragged into this nightmare. How many people were in danger because of my son's greed? The video continued for another 20 minutes. They discussed forged documents, offshore accounts, escape routes. They talked about my death like it was a business transaction, like I was inventory to be liquidated. At one point, David pulled out a photo, him, me, and Maria at his college graduation. Look at him, he said, staring at the photo. So proud, so righteous. Never let me forget how I disappointed him, how I wasn't the perfect son. Well, Dad, turns out your disappointment is worth $60 million. Hope it was worth it. He tore the photo in half, tossing it aside like garbage. Shen stopped the video. There's enough here for conspiracy to commit murder, attempted murder, fraud, racketeering with the Moretti connection. Your son's looking at life without parole. Life, I repeated, the word hollow. My son's life over before 35. All for money? All for greed? Mr. Sullivan, Chen said gently, I know this is difficult, but we need to move fast. The Morettis don't leave loose ends. If David can't pay them, they'll come for me, I finished, the wealthy father who could have saved him but didn't. We can arrange protective custody, safe house until we round everyone up. I thought about it. Hiding, running, living in fear of both my son and the criminals he owed. No, I said finally. I'm done running, done hiding. If they want to come for me, let them come for me. But I want David arrested, tonight. Shen nodded. We're coordinating with Denver PD and the FBI. The Moretti connection makes this federal. But Mr. Sullivan, I need you to understand, your son is desperate. Desperate people do desperate things. He's not my son anymore, I said, and meant it. My son died 5 years ago in his mother's hospital room. This is just someone wearing his face. My phone buzzed. Elena again. They know you left. David is going crazy. Says he'll burn down every restaurant you owned if you don't come back. Says he'll release the video of you and Maria from years ago, the one from the hotel in Aspen. My blood froze. A video, a private moment between husband and wife, an anniversary celebration we'd recorded for ourselves, never meant for other eyes. Somehow David had found it, and now he was willing to destroy his mother's memory to get what he wanted. What is it? Chen asked, seeing my face. I showed her the text. Her expression hardened. Extortion on top of everything. Mr. Sullivan, we need to get you somewhere safe while we… The interrogation room door burst open. A uniformed officer, face flush with urgency. Detective, we've got a situation. 3 of Sullivan's restaurants just got firebombed. Denver, Aurora, and Littleton locations. Fire department's responding, but… I stood so fast that the chair toppled. Anyone hurt? No casualties reported yet, but, sir, you need to see this. He handed Shen his phone. Security footage from my flagship Denver location. A figure in a hoodie throwing Molotov cocktails through the windows. The figure turned to the camera, pulled back the hood. David, my son, smiling at the camera as my life's work burned behind him. Got teams heading to all your properties now, the officer said. But, sir, there's more. We intercepted communications. The Morettis are mobilizing. They want their money, and if they can't get it from your son, they'll take it in blood, Shen finished. Mr. Sullivan, this just became a war, and you're ground zero. I stared at the footage of David, watching him dance in front of the flames like some demented celebration. This wasn't my son. This was a monster wearing his skin, and he just declared war on everything Maria and I had built. "Get me to a safe house," I said quietly, "and Chen, when you find him, when you arrest him, I want to be there. I want to look him in the eyes when you put the cuffs on him. I want him to know that his father survived, that he failed." Shen nodded. "We'll make it happen, but Mr. Sullivan, are you prepared for what comes next? Trials, media attention, the complete destruction of your family?" I thought about Maria, of her faith and family, her belief in redemption. She'd been wrong. Some people can't be redeemed. Some betrayals cut too deep to heal. "My family died with my wife," I said. "Everything else is just cleaning up the mess." If you're still watching without subscribing, you're about to miss the moment when a father's love turns to pure survival instinct. Subscribe now, or wonder forever how this war between blood ends. Don't pretend you're not invested. Hit that button before you see how deep a parent's rage can go when pushed beyond all limits.
They say the worst part of betrayal isn't the act itself. It's the moment you realize every happy memory was a lie. Every "I love you, Dad" was just setting up the con. As I sat in that FBI safe house, watching my restaurants burn on the news, I learned exactly how much hate can hide behind a son's smile. The safe house was a modest ranch home in Castle Pines, surrounded by federal agents who looked like they'd rather be anywhere else. Special Agent Marcus Webb, a former Marine with eyes that had seen too much, laid out the situation with military precision. "The Morettis have put a bounty on your head," he said, sliding photos across the table. $2 million to whoever delivers you to them alive. They figure either you pay your son's debt or they make an example that keeps other debtors in line. "How much does David owe exactly?" I asked, though I dreaded the answer. "Principal was $800,000. With their interest rates, $2.4 million. Your son's been gambling with their money, trying to win his way out. Lost every time." I laughed bitterly. "He always was terrible at math. His mother tried to teach him about compound interest when he was 16. He said it was boring, that he'd never need it." My phone, now monitored by the FBI, lit up with another message from David. "4 restaurants down, Dad. 13 to go. Or you can end this. Meet me at Mom's grave, midnight. Come alone with the account transfers ready. This is your last chance to save your legacy." Webb read it over my shoulder. He's escalating, desperate. This is when mistakes happen. "Let me go," I said. "Wire me up, have teams ready, but let me face him." "Absolutely not. You're a civilian. I'm bait, whether you admit it or not. He won't stop until he has what he wants, or he's behind bars, and the Morettis won't stop until someone pays. So use me. End this." Webb exchanged glances with Agent Diana Foster, a behavioral analyst who'd been studying David's pattern. "What do you think?" Foster pulled up her tablet, showing a psychological profile that made my stomach turn. "David Sullivan shows classic antisocial personality disorder with narcissistic features. The gambling addiction is secondary to his core issue. He genuinely believes the world owes him everything. In his mind, Mr. Sullivan here stole his birthright by not giving him instant access to wealth." "So he's sick?" I asked, grasping for something, anything that might explain this nightmare. "He's dangerous," Foster corrected. "The firebombings show he's past the point of rational calculation. He's in what we call extinction burst behavior, a final explosive attempt to get what he wants before everything collapses." Another text arrived. "Just hit the Boulder location, Dad. Remember when you taught me to flip pancakes there? I do. Watching it burn felt like justice." The Boulder restaurant, our first expansion beyond the food truck. David had spent summers there, learning the business, charming customers. Maria had been so proud, said he had natural hospitality in his blood. "Sir?" An agent rushed in, laptop in hand. "We've got a situation. Someone just uploaded a video to YouTube. It's personal." My heart sank as I recognized the thumbnail. The Aspen video, our 25th anniversary, a private celebration in a hotel suite. Nothing explicit, but intimate. Maria laughing, dancing, alive and radiant in a way that cancer would soon steal. Sacred moments between husband and wife. The title David gave it? Robert Sullivan, the man behind the restaurants. Get it down, Webb barked. Now! Already viral, the agent replied. 50,000 views in 10 minutes. The comments? He trailed off, but I could imagine. The internet feeding on private pain like vultures. I stood, decision made. I'm going to that cemetery tonight. This ends now. Mr. Sullivan, he's destroying everything, I shouted, surprising myself with the rage. Not just the buildings, Maria's memory, her dignity. I won't let him turn her into clickbait for his vendetta. Foster leaned forward. That's exactly what he wants. You, emotional, not thinking clearly, walking into his trap. Then help me spring it, I said, because I'm going with or without you. Webb exchanged glances with Agent Diana Foster, a behavioral analyst who'd been studying David's pattern. What do you think? Foster pulled up her tablet, showing a psychological profile that made my stomach turn. David Sullivan shows classic antisocial personality disorder with narcissistic features. The gambling addiction is secondary to his core issue. He genuinely believes the world owes him everything. In his mind, Mr. Sullivan here stole his birthright by not giving him instant access to wealth. So he's sick, I asked, grasping for something, anything that might explain this nightmare. He's dangerous, Foster corrected. The firebombings show he's past the point of rational calculation. He's in what we call extinction burst behavior, a final explosive attempt to get what he wants before everything collapses. Another text arrived. Just hit the Boulder location, Dad. Remember when you taught me to flip pancakes there? I do. Watching it burn felt like justice. The Boulder restaurant, our first expansion beyond the food truck. David had spent summers there, learning the business, charming customers. Maria had been so proud, said he had natural hospitality in his blood. Sir? An agent rushed in, laptop in hand. We've got a situation. Someone just uploaded a video to YouTube. It's personal. My heart sank as I recognized the thumbnail. The Aspen video, our 25th anniversary, a private celebration in a hotel suite. Nothing explicit, but intimate. Maria laughing, dancing, alive and radiant in a way that cancer would soon steal. Sacred moments between husband and wife. The title David gave it? Robert Sullivan, the man behind the restaurants. Get it down, Webb barked. Now! Already viral, the agent replied. 50,000 views in 10 minutes. The comments? He trailed off, but I could imagine. The internet feeding on private pain like vultures. I stood, decision made. I'm going to that cemetery tonight. This ends now. Mr. Sullivan, I'm sorry I should have warned you sooner. You saved my life, I replied. Take care of yourself. There's something else, she wrote. I heard David on a call yesterday. He said if the restaurant plan failed, he had insurance. Something about your wife's life insurance policy. Said you never claimed it? My blood ran cold. Maria's life insurance, $1 million policy she had insisted on despite my protests. I'd never claimed it, couldn't bear to profit from her death. But David knew about it. Had he forged claims? Added himself as beneficiary? Webb, I called. We need to check something. 30 minutes later, we had our answer. David had attempted to claim the policy 6 months ago, forging my signature. The insurance company had flagged it, contacted me, but I'd been traveling and missed their calls. They denied the claim, but David had appealed, hired lawyers, created an elaborate fraud that was still working through the system. He's been planning this for at least a year, Foster said. This isn't a desperate gamble. It's a calculated campaign to strip you of everything. 11:30. Time to move. I put on the bulletproof vest, feeling its weight like judgment. In the mirror, I looked older than my 62 years old. Grief had aged me, But betrayal had broken something fundamental. The drive to Mountain View Cemetery felt like traveling through a dream. FBI vehicles shadowed us, snipers were already in position, and somewhere in the darkness, my son waited with God knows what plan. Maria's grave sat on a hill overlooking the city, a view she'd loved in life. I'd chosen the spot carefully, spent a fortune on the marble headstone that read, "Beloved wife, mother, and partner in all things." David stood beside it, no longer bothering to hide the gun in his waistband. Jessica was nowhere to be seen, just father and son, with Maria's ghost between us. "You came," he said, his voice carrying across the cold night air. "I wasn't sure you would." "Did you really think I'd let you burn everything we built?" I asked, stopping 20 feet away as Webb had instructed. "Your buildings," David corrected. "You and Mom, never me. I was just the disappointment, remember? The addict, the thief, the son who couldn't live up to the great Robert Sullivan." "I loved you," I said, meaning it. "Every mistake, every relapse, every betrayal, we loved you through it all." "Loved me?" He laughed, high and manic. "You loved your restaurants more. Mom loved her dignity more than getting treatment that might have saved her. And now you love your money more than saving my life." "The Morettis will kill you anyway," I said. "Even if I gave you everything, they'd still kill you. That's what they do to people who can't pay on time." "Then at least I'd die knowing you finally chose me over your precious empire." He pulled out the gun, not pointing it at me, just holding it. "Do you know what it's like, Dad, growing up in the shadow of your success?"
You want to know the cruelest part of sending your child to prison? It's not the trial or the sentencing or even the hatred in their eyes. It's the phone call you get at 3 a.m., 6 months later, telling you they've been shanked in the shower and asking if you want to claim the body. That's where this story turns from tragedy to something darker. The call came on a rainy Tuesday in November. I'd been dreaming of Maria, of better days when David was young and still believed in good. The phone's ring shattered that illusion like glass. "Mr. Sullivan?" The voice was official, tired. "This is Warden Patricia Hendricks at Sterling Correctional. I'm calling about your son, David Sullivan." My heart stopped, then started again, hammering against ribs that suddenly felt too tight. He's alive," she said quickly, "but he's in critical condition. Stabbed multiple times in what appears to be a debt-related assault. He's been asking for you." I sat up, rain pattering against windows like accusing fingers. "Asking for me?" Repeatedly. "Mr. Sullivan, I understand your situation is complicated, but he may not survive the night. If there's anything you need to say to each other..." The drive to Sterling took 3 hours through the storm. 3 hours to wrestle with feelings I'd buried under righteous anger and justified hurt. David had tried to kill me, had burned my life's work, had desecrated my mother's grave. But he was still my son, bleeding out in a prison hospital, calling for the father he'd betrayed. The prison looked like a concrete tomb in the rain, all sharp angles and razor wire. Inside, fluorescent lights hummed with institutional indifference. Warden Hendricks met me at security, a small woman with steel in her spine and sympathy in her eyes. "He owes money to the Aryan Brotherhood," she explained as we walked. "Gambling debts. Even in here, he couldn't stop. They gave him a week to pay. This was day 8. Of course. David had learned nothing, changed nothing. Even facing decades in a cage, he'd found a way to gamble with his life. "How bad?" I asked. 4 stab wounds, punctured lung, nicked liver. The prison doctor did what he could, but..." She shrugged. "We're not equipped for this level of trauma, and the nearest hospital won't take inmates without massive security guarantees we can't provide." "How much to get him transferred?" She stopped walking, studied my face. "Mr. Sullivan, are you sure you want to do this, after everything?" How much? $50,000 for the security detail, plus medical costs. Could run $250,000 total. $250,000 to save the son who tried to murder me. Maria would have paid it without hesitation. But Maria had always seen the best in people, even when it wasn't there. Make the arrangements, I heard myself say. I'll cover it. The prison hospital was a nightmare in beige. Blood on linoleum, the smell of disinfectant fighting a losing battle against despair. David lay on a gurney, cuffed, even though he couldn't run if he wanted to. His face was gray, eyes sunken, breathing labored. Prison had aged him 20 years in 6 months. Dad? His voice was a whisper, blood on his lips. You came. I came, I confirmed, not moving closer. The warden says you're being transferred to Denver General. You'll get proper treatment. Why? Why would you? Because your mother would never forgive me if I let you die like this. Not for you, for her. He tried to laugh, coughed blood instead. Still disappointing you, even dying. David. No, let me say this. He struggled to breathe, each word a battle. I know what I did, know what I am, but Dad, the Morettis, they're not done. My blood chilled. The Morettis are finished. The FBI, not all of them. He interrupted. Vincent Moretti, the old man's nephew, he's out there. Blames you for destroying the family. Says he's going to take everything from you, piece by piece. Make you watch it all burn. How do you know this? Because he visited me 2 weeks ago. Lawyer visit, off the books. Told me to give you a message. He said, blood demands blood. The son failed, so the father pays. Tell him to enjoy his remaining days. Before I could respond, alarms started blaring. Not the fire alarm, something sharper, more urgent. Warden Hendricks's radio crackled to life. Code red, multiple breaches at the north and south gates. Armed intruders. The lights went out. Emergency lighting kicked in, bathing everything in hellish red. Gunfire echoed through concrete corridors. Automatic weapons, professional. Robert Sullivan, Vincent Moretti sends his regards. They weren't here for David. They were here for me. Warden Hendricks went for her weapon. The lead gunman shot her twice. Center mass. Professional. She dropped, her blood mixing with the institutional beige. No! I started to move toward her, but David grabbed my arm with surprising strength. Dad, run. The gunman laughed. Run where? We own this prison tonight, bought and paid for. Every guard on this block is either dead or counting their money. Please, I said, hating the desperation in my voice. Whatever Vincent wants. He wants you to suffer, wants you to lose everything like his family did, starting with your boy here. He aimed at David. Time slowed. I saw my son's eyes, not the calculating coldness of recent years, but the terror of a child facing monsters. In that moment, he wasn't the man who'd betrayed me. He was my boy, and someone was about to execute him in front of me. I moved without thinking, throwing myself between the gun and David. The bullet caught me in the chest, spinning me around. The vest Webb had insisted I keep wearing saved my life, but the impact felt like getting hit by a truck. Dad! David screamed. I hit the floor hard, ribs screaming, breath gone. Through blurred vision, I saw the gunman adjust his aim, going for a headshot this time. Then the world exploded in violence. The FBI had been watching. Webb's team, paranoid after the cemetery incident, had tagged me with a tracker, kept surveillance even after the Moretti trials. The moment I'd entered the prison, they'd been on alert. The attack triggered a response that turned Sterling Correctional into a war zone. Tactical teams breached from multiple points. The hospital became a shooting gallery, federal agents trading fire with Moretti soldiers while inmates screamed in their cells. I crawled to David, covering him with my body as bullets shattered windows and chewed through walls. "I'm sorry," David sobbed, his blood soaking through my shirt. "Dad, I'm so sorry for everything. For Mom, for the restaurants, for—" "Shut up," I said, holding pressure on his wounds. "Save your breath. You're going to live, you hear me? You're going to live and serve your time. And maybe someday we can figure out how to be father and son again." You still think of me as your son?" "You're an idiot," I said, tears streaming. "A greedy, selfish, destructive idiot. But you're my idiot, and I'm not losing you tonight." The gunfire stopped. Webb's voice amplified. "Building secure. Medical teams, move in." Paramedics swarmed the hospital, real ones this time, with real equipment. They worked on David with professional efficiency, while others checked my ribs, confirmed the vest had done its job. "Vincent Moretti?" I asked Webb as he surveyed the carnage. "In the wind, but we'll find him. This was sloppy, desperate. He's running out of resources, making mistakes." He looked at David being loaded for transport. "You saved your son's life." "He's still going to prison," I said. "Yeah, but he'll be alive to serve his time. That's something." The aftermath was chaos. Sterling Correctional lockdown indefinitely. 7 dead guards, all on Moretti's payroll, 3 dead attackers. Warden Hendricks survived, barely, would need months of recovery. And David, stabilized and under federal protection, would live to see another day. I rode with him in the ambulance, holding his cuffed hand while machines kept him breathing. He drifted in and out of consciousness, mumbling apologies and promises I knew he couldn't keep. "Dad, will you visit when I'm back inside?" I thought of all the reasons to say no. The betrayal, the attempted murder, the destruction of everything Maria and I had built. But I also thought of that moment when I'd stepped between him and a bullet, the instinct that transcended logic or justice. "Once a month," I said. "Sunday afternoons. And David, you're going to get help. Real help. Therapy, addiction counseling, whatever it takes, that's non-negotiable." He squeezed my hand weakly. "I love you, Dad. I know I don't deserve to say it, but I love you too. God help me, I love you too."
They say prison changes people, but they never mention how it changes the ones who visit. 6 months into our Sunday arrangement, I'd learned the way to bulletproof glass, the echo of concrete corridors, the way hope dies and resurrects itself in 30-minute increments. But nothing prepared me for the Sunday when David wasn't alone in the visiting room. If you think you've seen rock bottom in this story, think again. Subscribe now before you witness what happens when the past comes back with a vengeance. Some of you will subscribe out of morbid curiosity, others because you need to know evil can be survived. Which are you? Vincent Moretti sat beside my son, not touching him, but close enough to make the threat clear. The guards seemed oblivious, or paid to be. Vincent looked like his uncle, but younger, hungrier, with the kind of smile that made you check for exits. "Mr. Sullivan," Vincent said pleasantly, "so good to finally meet the man who destroyed my family." "David," I said, ignoring Vincent, focusing on my son's terrified eyes. "Are you okay?" "Dad, I'm sorry," David whispered. "He just showed up, said he was my new lawyer. The guards are practical men," Vincent interrupted. "They understand that money talks, even in here, especially in here." He leaned back, studying me. "You cost me everything, Sullivan. My uncle, dead in federal custody. My cousins, scattered to the wind or rotting in cells. The family business, dismantled piece by piece." "Your family business was murder and extortion," I said evenly. "You made your choices. As did you. His smile widened. You chose your money over your son's life. Admirable, in a cold-blooded sort of way, but choices have consequences. If you hurt him? Vincent laughed. Mr. Sullivan, I'm here to help him. Your son still owes us $2.4 million. With interest, call it an even 3. I'm willing to forgive that debt, even provide protection during his incarceration, for a simple trade. No deals, I said, but my voice sounded hollow even to me. Dad, please, you don't understand. Last week 3 guys cornered me in the laundry. Would have killed me if Vincent's people hadn't intervened. I can't survive in here without protection. The offer is simple, Vincent continued. Sign over 2 of your restaurants, the downtown Denver location and the Boulder flagship. Clean transfers, no questions asked. In exchange, David lives. Might even get early parole with the right lawyer, the right judge. And if I refuse? Vincent shrugged. Prison is dangerous. Accidents happen. Sometimes inmates hang themselves in their cells. Sometimes they slip in the shower, crack their skulls. Sometimes they just disappear. I looked at David, saw the fear etched in every line of his face. 6 months in maximum security had broken him in ways his betrayal of me never could. He'd lost 40 pounds, his eyes were hollow, and his hands shook constantly. You tried to kill me, I reminded him. Burned my restaurants, destroyed everything. I know, he whispered, and I'll spend the rest of my life paying for it. But Dad, please, I don't want to die in here. Not like this. Vincent checked his watch. You have 48 hours to decide. My attorney will contact yours with the paperwork. Sign, and David gets protection. Refuse? Well, let's hope it doesn't come to that. He left us alone, the guards suddenly remembering how to do their jobs. David pressed his palm against the glass, and for a moment I saw my little boy again, scared, desperate, needing his father. I know I don't deserve your help, he said, but Mom wouldn't want me to die like this. You know she wouldn't. Don't you dare, I snarled, surprising us both with my venom. Don't you dare invoke her name. You spit on her memory when you burned those restaurants, when you tried to poison me. You're right, he said, tears streaming. I'm sorry. I'm so fucking sorry, Dad. But I'm scared. I'm so scared all the time. They know I'm your son. They know you have money. Every day someone threatens me, tries to extort me, tries to... He broke off, sobbing. I wanted to feel nothing. Wanted to walk away and let him face the consequences of his choices. But Maria's voice echoed in my mind. Family is everything, Roberto. Everything. I'll think about it, I said finally. But David, if I do this, it's the last thing. No more visits, no more money for commissary, no more anything. You'll be dead to me. I understand, he whispered. Thank you for considering it. I left the prison with Vincent's proposition weighing on me like lead. 2 restaurants for my son's life. The same son that had tried to take everything, including my life. The irony was suffocating. That night I couldn't sleep. I walked through my Denver restaurant after closing, touching familiar surfaces, breathing in the smell of success built over decades. Could I really hand this over to a mobster? Could I let Maria's dream be corrupted by blood money? My phone rang at 3 a.m. Unknown number. Mr. Sullivan? A woman's voice, scared. This is Officer Patricia Wells at Sterling Correctional. There's been an incident with your son. My heart stopped. Is he... He's alive, but in the infirmary. Someone put glass in his food. Cut his throat and stomach pretty bad. He's asking for you. I drove through the night again, fury and fear warring in my chest. By the time I arrived, David was stable but looked like death.
Bandages covered his neck, IV lines snaked into his arms, and his eyes were glazed with pain medication. "Wasn't Vincent," he croaked when he saw me. "Different crew. Aryans. Said this was just a warning." "Jesus Christ, David. Sign the papers, Dad, please. I know I'm a monster. Know I deserve this, but please." I stared at my broken son, the boy who'd betrayed everything our family stood for, and made my decision. But not the one anyone expected. "No," I said quietly. "I won't sign over the restaurants." David's face crumpled. "Then I'm dead." "No," I repeated. "You're getting transferred. Minimum security, out of state. I still have connections, favors owed. It'll cost me $500,000 in bribes and lawyers, but you'll be safe." "Vincent won't allow—" "Vincent's about to have bigger problems." I pulled out my phone, showed him the recording I'd made of our visiting room conversation. Extortion, threats, admitting to bribing federal officers. I've already sent copies to the FBI, the DEA, and the U.S. Attorney's Office. By morning, Vincent Moretti will be the one looking over his shoulder. David stared at me, confusion mixing with something like hope. You wore a wire to visit me?" "I wore a wire every visit since the cemetery," I admitted. "Webb insisted. Figured if you could try to kill me once." I shrugged, but it finally paid off. "Why save me?" he asked. "After everything?" I thought about it. Really thought about it. "Because you're my son. My disappointing, treacherous, broken son. And because your mother would haunt me forever if I let you die in here." I stood to leave. "The transfer will happen within a week. You'll serve your time in somewhere safe, get the help you need. But David, this really is the last thing. After this, we're done." "I understand. Dad, I love you." I didn't respond. Couldn't. Love was too small a word for the tangled mess of emotions between us. Vincent Moretti was arrested 2 days later in a dramatic raid that made national news. The visiting room recording, combined with evidence Webb's team had been gathering, brought down what remained of the Moretti organization. Vincent got 25 years. His protection network in Sterling Correctional crumbled, and David was transferred to a minimum security facility in Oregon. I kept my word. No visits, no calls, no money. David sent letters I didn't open, made collect calls I didn't accept. But every month I checked with his counselor, made sure he was attending therapy, staying clean, working towards some kind of redemption I might never witness. 5 years passed. Then 10. David served his time quietly, earned degrees, became a counselor himself for other inmates. His letters stopped coming after year 7, respecting the boundary I had set. But I knew he was alive, safe, trying to become someone his mother wouldn't be ashamed of. Sometimes, late at night in my empty penthouse, I wondered if I'd made the right choice.
15 years. That's how long I managed to keep my promise of no contact. 15 years of birthdays uncelebrated, holidays alone, and a father's heart slowly learning to beat around the hole where his son used to be. But promises, like hearts, can break when you least expect it. Mine shattered on a rain-soaked Thursday when I opened my door to find a ghost holding a baby. "You're Robert Sullivan?" she asked, voice barely above a whisper. "David Sullivan's father?" I couldn't speak. The girl had David's eyes but Maria's bone structure, a genetic echo of better times. The baby in her arms whimpered, and she shifted it nervously. "I'm Emma," she said. David was my father. This is Grace. She's 3 months old. We have nowhere else to go." Was. The word hit like a physical blow. "David's dead?" She nodded, tears starting. 2 weeks ago, heart attack in his cell. The prison said he'd been sick for months, but didn't tell anyone. Didn't want to bother anyone. She laughed bitterly. Even dying, he was trying not to be a burden.
I stepped aside, letting them in from the rain. My penthouse, so carefully ordered, suddenly felt like a museum. Too clean, too empty, too much like a life spent running from connection. "Sit," I managed. "You're soaked. Let me get you towels, something warm to drink." "We don't need charity," Emma said, but she was already collapsing onto my couch, the baby clutched protectively. I didn't know where else to go. My mom died when I was 2, foster care since then. Dad and I only connected through letters the last 5 years. I brought towels, tea, and the 1,000 questions burning in my throat. "How did you find me?" "Dad talked to you constantly. The restaurants, the success, the betrayal." She met my eyes steadily. "He told me everything. What he did to you, what you did for him. Said you saved his life even after he tried to end yours. That was a long time ago." "Not for him." She pulled out an worn envelope. "He wrote this the day before he died. Asked you to give it to him if anything happened." I stared at the envelope like it might explode. David's handwriting, still the same sloppy scrawl. 15 years of silence, and now his words weighted behind thin paper. "I'll read it later," I said. "Tell me about you. About Grace." Emma's story spilled out in fragments. Teenage pregnancy, the father vanishing the moment the test showed positive, aging out of foster care with a newborn, no support, no family, except a father in prison she'd never met until she was 11. David had tried to parent through letters, sending what little money he could earn from prison jobs, encouraging her education, her dreams. "He was a good father," she said defensively. "I know what he did to you was unforgivable, but he spent every day trying to atone. Got his counseling degree, helped hundreds of inmates, never touched gambling again. He was different." "People don't change that much," I said, harsher than intended. "You did," she shot back. "You went from someone who'd save his son's life to someone who could pretend he didn't exist for 15 years. The baby started crying. Emma tried to soothe it, but exhaustion made her clumsy. I watched her struggle, saw Maria in her movements, David in her stubbornness, and felt something crack inside my chest. "Give her to me," I said. "What?" "The baby. Give her here." I held out my arms, muscle memory from 35 years ago taking over. Grace settled against my chest, her cries softening to whimpers. "She's hungry. When did she eat last?" "This morning. I ran out of formula yesterday. Was hoping to find work today, but..." Emma's voice broke. "I'm failing her already, just like everyone failed me." I looked at this child, my granddaughter, blood of my blood, holding her own child, and made a decision that would have made Maria proud and David grateful. "You're staying here," I said. "Both of you. We'll figure out the rest tomorrow." "We're not charity cases." "Your family," I interrupted. "Like it or not, complicated as it is, your family." Emma broke down then, sobbing with relief and exhaustion. I held Grace with one arm and awkwardly patted Emma's shoulder with the other, feeling like a man trying to remember how to be human after years of practicing stone. That night, after settling them in the guest room, I finally opened David's letter. His handwriting was shaky, the words of a dying man. "Dad, if you're reading this, I'm gone, and Emma found you. I know I have no right to ask anything of you, but I'm asking anyway. She's a good kid, better than I ever was. She deserves a chance at the life I threw away. She never told me about you, because I didn't want my poison touching another generation. But she found me anyway, stubborn like Mom. She's been writing me for 5 years, visiting when she could afford it. She's the only good thing I ever did, and I did it by accident. I know you hate me. I know forgiveness is impossible. But Emma isn't me. She's smart, kind, determined. She's everything I should have been. Please, Dad, don't let my sins condemn her. She needs family, real family, the kind I destroyed but you could rebuild. I'm sorry for everything, for Mom's grave, for the restaurants, for the poisoning, for wasting the life you saved. I'm sorry I couldn't be the son you deserved. But maybe Emma can be the granddaughter you never knew you needed. I love you, Dad. I never stopped, even when you stopped loving me. David. P.S. Thank you for saving me. Not from the Morettis, but from myself. The man I became in prison, the lives I helped save through counseling, that was your gift. You gave me the chance to die as someone Mom wouldn't be ashamed of. For that, I'm forever grateful. I read it 3 times, tears I'd held back for 15 years finally falling.
Somewhere in the guest room, Grace cried again, and I heard Emma singing softly, a lullaby I recognized. Maria used to sing it to David. The next morning changed everything. I woke to find Emma in the kitchen, trying to figure out my coffee maker while Grace slept in a makeshift bassinet made from couch cushions. "I was going to make breakfast," she said shyly, "to thank you, but your kitchen is intimidating." "It's designed for a chef. I own restaurants but can barely cook anymore. Your grandmother would be appalled." "She said she was an amazing cook, said you both were, before, I agreed. "Come on, let me show you how to use this thing. And Emma, we need to talk about your future." Over coffee and the first real breakfast I'd cooked in years, we negotiated the terms of our strange new family. Emma would stay, finish her GED, apply to colleges. I'd help with Grace, teach Emma the restaurant business if she wanted. In exchange, she'd help me remember how to be more than a successful ghost haunting expensive rooms. "Why are you doing this?" she asked. "You could have turned us away. Should have, probably." I thought about it, watching Grace sleep peacefully in her improvised bed. "Because your father was right about one thing. Your grandmother would never forgive me if I turned away blood. And because," I paused, surprising myself with honesty, "because I've been dead inside for 15 years. Maybe it's time to try living again." The transition wasn't smooth. Emma had David's temper and my stubbornness, a combustible combination. We fought about curfews, about her dropping out of school, about the boy she'd been seeing who had abandoned her. Grace cried through the nights, and I found myself walking floors I'd paced with David 35 years earlier, singing the same songs, making the same promises. But slowly, something like family emerged from the wreckage. Emma turned out to have Maria's gift for cooking and David's charm with customers. I started bringing her to the restaurants, teaching her the business from the ground up. The staff, who had watched me operating cold efficiency for years, seemed stunned by the change. "She's good," my general manager Patricia told me, after Emma had charmed a difficult customer into becoming a regular. "Natural hospitality instincts. But Robert, are you sure about this, given the history?" "She's not her father," I said firmly. "She's her own person, and she's family." The word felt foreign but right. Family. After everything, I had family again. 6 months in, Vincent Moretti reached out from federal prison, a letter forwarded through lawyers. "Sullivan, heard about your new house guests. Touching, really. The granddaughter you never knew, the great-grandchild carrying on the bloodline. It would be a shame if old debts came calling. Your son died owing us. That debt doesn't disappear with death. But I'm feeling generous. That downtown location you wouldn't sign over, do it now, and we'll call it even. The girl and baby stay safe. Everyone wins. You know what happens if you refuse. VM." I showed the letter to Webb, who was somehow unsurprised. "Moretti's got 10 more years minimum, but he's still got reach. We can increase security, monitor threats, but he'll never stop," I finished. "As long as he's alive, as long as he has people outside, Emma and Grace are in danger. What do you want to do?" I looked at the letter again, then at Emma teaching Grace to clap in the living room. My granddaughter, bright and determined, building a future. My great-granddaughter, innocent and perfect, deserving better than the shadow of old sins. "Set up a meeting," I said, "with Vincent's lawyer. Let's end this." Webb looked concerned. "Robert, you can't seriously be considering—" "I'm considering everything," I said. "But first, I need information. Everything you have on Moretti's current operations, his people on the outside, his vulnerabilities. If I'm going to negotiate, I need leverage." The meeting happened 2 weeks later in a federal facility conference room. Vincent, orange jumpsuit not diminishing his menace, smiled when he saw me. "Mr. Sullivan, you're looking well. Grandfatherhood suits you." "What do you want, Vincent?" "I told you, the downtown location. Clean transfer, no questions. In exchange, your family stays off limits." "And if I refuse?" He leaned back, studying his nails. "Emma's a pretty girl. Be a shame if she had an accident. Baby Grace too. Cars crash, apartments burn, people disappear. You know how it goes." "I do," I agreed, "which is why I brought you something better than a restaurant." I slid a folder across.
5 years. That's how long our makeshift family had to pretend the past was truly buried. Emma graduated culinary school with honors. Grace started kindergarten reading at a third-grade level, and I learned to be the grandfather I never thought I'd have the chance to be. But the past has a way of clawing back to the surface, especially when you built your life on graves. This is it, the final chapter of our story. If you haven't subscribed yet, do it now. Not for me, but for yourself. Because what happens next will either restore your faith in redemption or destroy it forever. Your choice. The call came on Grace's 5th birthday. We were in the middle of her princess party at the Denver restaurant, 20 kindergartners high on sugar and possibility, when my phone rang. Unknown number, but something in my gut recognized the danger. "Mr. Sullivan?" The voice was young, nervous. "My name is Michael Chen. I was David's cellmate, his friend. I just got released, and I have something he wanted you to have. Something he said could only be delivered after 5 years. My blood chilled. David had been dead for 5 years. What final manipulation had he orchestrated from beyond the grave? "I don't want anything from him," I said, watching Emma help Grace blow out candles, their faces glowing with joy I wouldn't let David's ghost destroy. "He said you'd say that," Michael continued. "But, Mr. Sullivan, this isn't what you think. Please, one meeting. For Emma and Grace's sake." Those names in a stranger's mouth made my decision. Tomorrow, noon, the coffee shop on 16th Street. Michael Chen looked nothing like the hardened criminal I'd expected. Asian, mid-30s, wearing a cheap suit and the nervous energy of someone trying to re-enter society. He clutched a sealed box like his life depended on it. "David saved my life," he began without preamble. "I was 22, in for dealing, trying to act tough, got in with the wrong crew. They were going to kill me over a debt I couldn't pay. David intervened, took the beating meant for me, nearly died." "That doesn't sound like my son." "The son you knew? No. But the man he became? That was exactly like him." Michael slid the box across the table. "He spent 3 years working on this. Said it was his real apology, the one that mattered." Inside the box were 3 items: a leather journal, a USB drive, and a small wooden box I recognized with a sharp intake of breath. Maria's jewelry box, the one David had stolen from her hospital room the day she died. "How?" I whispered. "He tracked it down. Took him 2 years, calling in favors, tracing pawn shops. Cost him everything he'd saved from prison work, but he found it." I opened the jewelry box with trembling hands. Maria's wedding ring, her mother's pearls, the charm bracelet I'd given her for our first anniversary. All there, all returned. But it was the journal that broke me. David's handwriting filled every page. Not rambling apologies or excuses, but something else entirely. Recipes. Maria's recipes, the ones I thought were lost forever. Each one meticulously recreated from memory, annotated with stories, with moments, with love. "Mama's Sunday gravy," one entry began. "She always said the secret was cooking it low and slow, like love itself. Dad would sneak tastes when he thought she wasn't looking, but she always knew. She'd swat his hand with the wooden spoon, but she was smiling. They were always smiling in the kitchen." Page after page of recovered memories, David spending his prison years excavating every moment of happiness before the fall. The USB drive, Michael explained, contained more. Videos David had recorded, cooking demonstrations for Emma, showing her how to make her grandmother's dishes, telling her the stories behind each one. He knew he'd never cook with her, but he wanted her to have this, to know where she came from, the love that built everything before he destroyed it. I sat in that coffee shop surrounded by strangers living their ordinary lives and wept for the son I'd lost twice, once to greed, once to death, but also for the man he'd fought to become, the father who chose spend his last years trying to restore what he'd stolen. "There's one more thing," Michael said, pulling out an envelope. "He wrote this the day before he died. Asked me to deliver it with the rest. Another letter, another chance for David to break my heart from beyond the grave. But I opened it anyway. Dad, if you're reading this, it means Michael kept his promise and waited the full 5 years.
I wanted Emma and Grace to be settled, to be family, before this arrived. I didn't want my ghost disrupting their chance of happiness. The recipes aren't complete. I couldn't remember everything, and Mom took some secrets with her. But I remembered the love. Every dish she made, every meal we shared, every moment before I chose darkness, I remembered. I know you can't forgive me. I can't forget myself. But maybe Emma can take these recipes and make them her own. Maybe Grace can grow up knowing her great-grandmother through the food that built our family. Maybe something good can grow from all this pain. I'm dying, Dad. The doctors say weeks, maybe days. My heart, ironically. Guess it finally broke from carrying all that weight. But I'm not afraid. I've made my peace, helped who I could, tried to balance the scales. Tell Emma I love her. Tell Grace her daddy was complicated, but tried his best at the end. And Dad, thank you for saving me. Not just from the Mortys, but from dying as the monster I become. You gave me the chance to remember who I was supposed to be. I love you. Despite everything, because of everything, I love you. Your son. Always. I looked up to find Michael crying too. He talked about you constantly, about the restaurants, the family, the life he threw away, but also about the man you were, the father who chose mercy over justice. He said you were the reason he could help people inside, because you showed him that even the worst people could choose to be better. What will you do now? I asked, needing to focus on something practical before I drowned in grief. I'm starting over. Got a job at a warehouse, tiny apartment, trying to build something clean. He hesitated. David said if I ever needed anything, I should come to you. But I'm not asking for handouts, just wanted to fulfill my promise. I studied this young man who had been my son's friend in his final years, who'd kept a promise for 5 years without expectation of reward. Can you cook? A little. David taught me some basics. Come by the Boulder restaurant tomorrow. Tell Patricia I sent you. We'll start you as prep cook. See how it goes. Michael's eyes widened. Mr. Sullivan, I have a record. So did David. So do a lot of people who deserve second chances. I stood, clutching the box of memories. Just don't make me regret it. That night I showed Emma everything. We sat at the kitchen table, Maria's jewelry box between us, going through recipes and memories while Grace played nearby. Emma cried when she saw the videos. Her father, thin and gray but determined, teaching her to make her grandmother's meatballs, telling her about Sunday dinners and family traditions. He loved us, she said wonderingly. He really loved us. He was a complicated man who made terrible choices, I said carefully. But at the end, he loved you both more than life itself. I want to use these, Emma decided, wiping her tears. In the restaurants. A special menu, Maria's Memories or something. Traditional family recipes, with the stories. What do you think? I thought Maria would have loved it. I thought David would have been proud. I thought sometimes redemption comes in unexpected packages, delivered by unexpected messengers. I think it's perfect, I said. The launch of Maria's Memories was a sensation. Emma proved to be a natural storyteller, weaving family history into each dish. Customers came for the food but stayed for the connection, the reminder that every recipe has a story, every family has its complications. Michael thrived in the kitchen, his natural talent refined by determination to honor David's memory. Within a year, he was sous chef. Within 2, he was running the Boulder kitchen. He never forgot who gave him the chance, never let David's faith in him falter. Grace grew up surrounded by love and stories, knowing her father through recipes and memories, understanding that people are complicated, but love is simple. She had Maria's laugh and David's stubborn streak, but most importantly, she had the chance to be whoever she wanted to be. And me, I learned to forgive. Not forget, never that. The scars remained, the betrayal had happened, the pain was real. But forgiveness isn't about erasing the past. It's about choosing to build something new on the ashes of what burned. On the 10th anniversary of David's death, we held a memorial dinner at the Dender restaurant. Emma cooked Maria's full Sunday dinner,
the one David had spent pages describing. Michael helped, along with 3 other former inmates David had mentored, who'd found their way to our kitchens over the years. Grace, now 15, and already talking about culinary school, served as hostess with a poise that would have made Maria proud. My father was a complicated man. He made choices that hurt people, choices that destroyed trust and nearly destroyed our family. But he made the choice to change, to try and repair what he'd broken. Tonight, we honor not the man he was, but the man he fought to become. I watched my granddaughter speak, watched my great-granddaughter charm customers, watched former convicts create beauty in Maria's kitchen, and felt something I hadn't experienced in decades. Complete